Hey, this is Robin from the Ocean, and you're watching... What the fuck are you watching?
The Number
of the Block. There you go.
So obviously the Ocean started in 2000, and you've always been the primary songwriter. And so, you know, how did that come about that all these guys just sort of situate around you, and like, do they have much input, or is it mostly...
In the beginning, no one had any input. Aside from myself. I moved to Berlin with the idea to start a band according to my own ideas, because I'd been playing in a number of bands in my small town where I'm from, the central part of Germany, and just wanted to do my own shit really, and that's why I moved to Berlin to find people willing to play my stuff, and that took quite a while, but yeah, eventually like all these people just assembled around myself, and we had lots of lineup changes because people were either getting bored of playing someone else's stuff or couldn't do it technically, or just wanted to do their own shit really. So we had lots of different guitar players, drummers for the first couple of years, and at one point we just kind of institutionalized that and said, alright, we're gonna make it a collective rather than a band. We're gonna have changing members as a matter of principle. We're gonna have yeah, also all these classical instrumentalists that we had on the albums, the first two albums, and also Precambrian actually, that were usually not on stage with us because it would just not be possible to bring them on tour, but they were still playing on the albums, so they were just like friends and friends of friends, so it was like this big pool of musicians that was somehow like related to this band in a way. And that's how this whole thing came about, basically.
Look at your evolution as a band, like right from Islands and Tides demo, and like all the way now to heliocentric and anthropocentric. Did you, at the time, could you actually see you? Because heliocentric is a very different style from your other stuff. Could you see yourself ending up there, or did it just happen naturally? Was it just a?
You can never tell where you end up.
Yeah.
I had a pretty precise idea of what I wanted to do musically at that point. But it was a quite different idea from today. Apparently your musical taste evolves, and the way you approach music, the way you write music also is subject to changes and evolves. And that has happened with every single album, and I think that's true for almost every musician in the world. It would just be boring to do the same thing over and over again. And apparently, you know, you take influences over the years, and it's like like a black box. You work with certain stuff that you see and hear, and it has an effect on you, and then you start incorporating that into the stuff you do yourself, and that's why it's kind of unpredictable, and you don't really know where it takes you to. I think there's a red line going through all of our albums, though, even Islands Tides, since you mentioned that, which was never properly released, and that was the first demo we've done and released ourselves with just 500 copies being pressed, and there was not even a drummer playing on that album. But there's a certain mood behind it, a certain atmosphere, a certain way to treat dynamics and you know, like certain chord progressions and stuff like that that you can find on each and every single one of our albums, I think, and that has pretty much been the same, but it's hard to really pin it down like to what it is exactly.
Okay, sounds like Fluxion and heliocentric are like, say, the softer side, and then albums like Precambrian and like anthropocentric are the harsher, but they all have great atmosphere. So like, do you prioritise atmosphere, or is it something that happens naturally? And which one of the styles do you prefer rushing in, like between sort of the softer to the harsher?
I can't tell you that, man.
No,
I love both realms. Both is equally important to me, and I think the kind of segregation you did there was a bit random. Like, Flexion is not one of the softer albums. It is quite Flexion is a heavy album. It's got lots of orchestral parts, but the vocals are brutal.
No, they are.
From beginning to the end, pretty much. And Precambrian has both sides. The first half, the EP, is really that kind of heavy, kind of techie kind of stuff. The second half is more, you know, epic and atmospheric. I just like to keep it interesting for myself and for the people who listen to us as well. And that's why we, you know, try to deal with everything, and I have utmost respect to the bands who have managed to reinvent themselves with every new album and tried something different. Bands like Breach that started out like a mediocre 90s new school hardcore band, or The Refused as well, and progressed into this entity where everything was possible at one point, and that's great. And I've always not only been listening to metal or heavy music, but also to lots of classical music, you know, even jazzy stuff and salsa and pretty much everything that is good somehow, and all that has left its marks in the music that I write, and I can't say I favor writing clean songs over writing heavy songs or vice versa. It depends on my momentary mood and, you know, the way I touch my guitar or my keyboards or whatever. So it's all equally important, I think.
Irons and Tides, will it ever get re-released?
I don't think it will. I have played with the thought for a while to re-record everything. That would be the only way to do it. I'm not gonna re-release the album as it is because it sounds like shit. It was my first endeavors as a sound engineer, you know. And like I said, at that time we didn't even have a drummer. It's all sequenced, programmed drums on that recording. Two of the tracks, they're both 15-minute tracks. They're still, like I said, they are conveying that same kind of vibe that are more like our later albums, you know, are tackling or whatever. But it only would make sense to re-record them, and I simply don't see myself investing lots of time into doing that right now, because I'm more interested in writing new songs and you know, writing new albums than dealing with old stuff. But if I ever get really bored and have nothing else to do, then I will probably, you know, spend a week or two to re-record these two tracks of that album that were actually divided into 4 parts. But it's basically 2 long tracks plus another one that didn't fit at all. So
okay, yeah.
I don't think anytime soon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And similar sort of question: will the Digipack re-release of Precambrian ever see the light of day in North America?
No, it won't.
No. Okay.
No. And that's a shame. Like, I would love to make it available, but the problem is that the packaging was very expensive. We have these die-cut holes and different layers in the Digipack, and it only makes sense to reprint it in a fairly large print run, and there's simply, at least our label believes that there's not enough demand to print up another 10, 15,000 copies of that. So that's why it's going to be the jewel case version. The Digipack is forever gone, also in Europe, not just in America. Who knows? Like, if, you know, all of a sudden this album starts selling again, like in huge numbers, we may do it, but I don't see it happening.
The inspiration for the subject matter of the last 2 albums come from? Like, what made you decide the revolution in astronomy and human thought? That's what I should write some albums about.
A lot of people may seem to think that it's like, you know, it's really pretentious to tackle these big subjects, and maybe it is. For me, it's just stuff that I'm really interested in. I've studied philosophy. I've been thinking about religion for years, and not only in an academic environment, but just because I'm really interested about these things. I was first exposed to the whole thing when I was living in the US at age 16, 17 with a diehard Baptist Christian host family, and had these discussions on a daily basis with my host sister about the dinosaurs never existing and their bones having been laid out in the desert by mad scientists obsessed by the devil and this kind of stuff. And at the time I was just struck by how obsessed such a young and otherwise smart person was by ideas that were obviously not her own. And since then I've been thinking about this, and when we recorded, when we started writing actually for heliocentric and anthropocentric, which kind of happened at around the same time, I felt that that was the chance. We knew it was going to be a double album. We knew there was going to be lots of space to fit like a large concept such as that onto an album like that. And that was the first thing that came to mind, because I've been wanting to do that for a while actually, and now was the time to do it.
That's cool. Is all your new material, is it going down well in a live setting? Like, you know, have you had any problems with it? Or?
Yeah, no, not at all. We're of course only playing a selection of songs like every other band. We haven't played all the songs of Heliocentric live yet. We've played one show where we played almost every song except for one. That was our record release show for the album in Switzerland in March this year, where we played with an extended lineup of 13 people on stage, where we had a contrabass player, a string quartet on stage with us, and like, you know, a brass section. With this kind of setting, we could play songs like Epiphany, for example, and we could play all this stuff live that's usually coming from a sequencer, which is awesome. I would love to only tour like that, but you know, I think we have
just
to
not practical.
fill larger venues in order to bring 40 musicians on tour with us.
Right.
But yeah, it's been going down really well, and on this tour also we're always finishing the set with The Origin of Species and The Origin of God, which seem to be the perfect songs to finish a set, and it's been going down really well every single night. Although we're supporting the Dillinger's K-Plan right now, those songs are quite far away from what they do. We have other songs that are closer. You know, we started the set tonight with City and Sea of Aeolian, the first track. That's more in that vein of like heavy technical stuff, but the heliocentric songs are quite different, and still they've been very, very well received. And it seems that a lot of people who are out there only know us since heliocentric, and they of course appreciate these songs more than they appreciate the older stuff. But it depends on where we play and, you know, with what bands we're playing with. So.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, first I heard was heliocentric, and then I went back, and now I've gone forward.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but no, because I was going to say one of my favourite songs is Ptolemy Was Wrong. It's just an amazing song. It's just incredible. It's so different from a lot of the other stuff that it just really stands out as a really powerful song.
Yeah, that's the song we got the most shit for.
Really?
Everyone, yeah. Which I can understand. I mean, fair enough. Like, it's a song based on piano and very mellow vocal melodies.
Yeah.
People who are into our Aeolian stuff and who basically listen mainly to heavy stuff, I can see how they're not into it, and that's fine. But we never conceived ourselves as a metal band merely. You know, we've always had these influences from completely different areas, and our first album was entirely instrumental, Fog Diver, and I think the people who have followed us over the years appreciate that we, you know, try to incorporate all these elements into our music and not only play the heavy stuff live and metal stuff live. I really like the track too. It's one of my favorite tracks actually.
Yeah.
It is not Louis singing on that track though. It's a misconception. It is actually mentioned in the liners, but the people who have only downloaded the album may not know that. That's the only song on Heliocentric where a different singer is singing. His name is René Nosson. And he's also guesting on Precambrian. He was also doing clean vocals for the Great Blue Coldna Rains and the song Tonian. So that's the only track on Heliocentric where it's not Louis singing, because a lot of their voices are kind of similar, and a lot of people have been thinking it's Louis, but it's not.